So, in request to the query about whether pupils could download documents to their Chromebook in order to use it offline if the internet connection is bad or so on, and the answer is yes, it's relatively straightforward. It's slightly different if you're using PDFs and images because they don't allow you to store them offline to access, or, well, that's not quite true. The available offline feature that's part of Google Drive doesn't really work for them, so you have to just manually download the file to your device. So I'll show you how you do that and where you find it, and then I'll quickly point out how the available offline function works with any other Google Docs which are in Google Drive. So first of all, if you had posted a PDF to your pupils on Classroom as a material or an assignment, when they click on it within Classroom, what they'll get is a preview page that opens that looks like this. The preview page is not kind of like opening the document fully, it just lets you have a wee look over it. And for reasons I don't fully understand, it doesn't provide you with an option to download directly from that page. If you click on the little drop down at the side though, you'll see an open a new window option. And if we press that, it will open that PDF in whatever your PDF viewer happens to be. I think there's one that the council have centrally installed on Chromebooks. So it should open that PDF up, and you'll now see that at the top right hand side there's a little icon here which is your download album. Now I'm not even going to wait for it to keep actually opening up because it's a decent sized PDF and it might take a while. That's it now. So you see we've got our PDF there. If we click this download button, what will happen is it will take that file and it'll download it to the local storage on the Chromebook. And when it's finished, it'll ask me if I want to show it in folder, which I'll just click on so I can show you where it is, and then I'll also show you how you would find that if you hadn't just downloaded it. So this opens up the file browser on the Chromebook itself and will take you to the Documents folder eventually. It's running rather slow today. So you see it's highlighted Downloads there, and when it loads up, you'll see that Datum Targets is now a file that's available there. Now, at the moment, the Chromebook switched, or the internet's connected, so I'm just going to disconnect the internet to show you that even while I'm now no longer connected to the internet, if I double click on this, I can open it, but it opens up in this kind of rather awkward PDF viewer thing that somebody centrally installed for the whole of Stirling Council, whereby it doesn't just automatically open it, you have to then actually choose the file. So when we click on this, we then have to go back and select it again. So it's a bit, I don't know, it's not really the ideal in terms of fluidity, but when you go in and actually select it and open it, it will open up your PDF. So even though we're working completely offline just now, you'll see that we've got a document that we can now open and edit. In terms of actually having other files available offline, I don't know exactly what the number is and the frequency or the I'm trying to think of the simplest way to put this, how it decides which ones to do it for. I think it's within a certain number of days or the last so many files. But basically, Google Drive will automatically on Chromebooks, assuming the default option in the settings is enabled for it to do so, which it should be, it will automatically save your most recent files offline. So you'll see that while I'm looking through Google Drive here, everything's grayed out. That's because I'm offline at the moment. It says here things may be unavailable. But you'll see that some things that I've opened more recently, like this Amazon Orders one, they are actually available. So even though I'm offline just now, I could open that up. I think that's actually because I've still got the file open at the moment. But there are some others there, just some ones that I've made recently or have edited or accessed recently. You'll see that they're all still available. And even within certain folders, there will be files. I don't actually know if I'll be able to open the folders. I think I possibly will, but I've not really tried it that much, to be honest. But you can see some of the files, as I say, are available offline. Now, the issue may be if you have a file that you haven't accessed for a while, but you want it to be available offline. And it's really quite straightforward. Within a file itself, when you have it open, if you go to the file option here, you'll see that there's a Make Available Offline button. Now that is there whether the file is connected, or sorry, whether the the device is connected or not, the file can be made offline. But obviously, if it's not a file that's currently available offline, you won't be able to open it while the device is not online anyway. Might be a bit more confusing than it needed to be. And then within your actual menu of options here, I'll just reconnect to the internet. So within my menu of options for any file within the actual drive, let's get rid of all this stuff. If I just go and find a file, you see everything's no longer grayed out. But if I go and find a file in here, something that I won't have looked at for a while, I guess. Don't know what I haven't looked at recently. But if we find a file anyway, like this one here, we do our two-finger tap to open the menu options. You'll see that there's an option here that says available offline. So if you tick that available offline button, okay, so that file is now available offline. And I'm going to go and disconnect my internet again. If I go to find the file, it will come up if I have Google Drive already open, but there's a bit of an awkwardness in that if I close this all down, so if I close all the tabs there, when I go to open them up, it may not let me get back into Google Drive. In fact, it probably won't. It sometimes does, sometimes doesn't. Yeah, it seems to be letting me do it now, but it didn't earlier on when I was trying it on a pupil Chromebook. So basically, if you can't get it to open up Google Drive, even offline, as it should be doing just now, it's working okay for me just now, but it didn't do it before. What you would have to do is go down here to the File Explorer. So you open this up, go to Files, and then within Files, it will take a wee moment to load, but you'll see in My Files, you should, if you go to Google Drive, be able to see any files in there that are stored offline. So if we scroll down, you can see all the ones that are grayed out, which are not available offline, but we can see that Amazon Orders 2021 doc is available offline. And that basically means that if I needed to use both my PDF, which was in there, so I'll just go back to Files quickly. I'll go to the Downloads and open up my file there. I'll probably have to choose the file again, doing the silly select it twice thing, but we'll eventually get there. So now we've selected it, we've now got a Google Doc. That one's not loading, and I suspect it's because I might be because I just made it offline or made it available offline. It should load eventually. Fingers crossed. There we go, it's loaded up now. So while it's offline, you can see I'm still not connected to the internet. We do have the ability to edit this file. You'll see it says you're trying to connect, and it'll take a wee moment for it to load up. There should be a wee thing here that'll say your changes will be saved offline and uploaded, or something along those lines. So if I kind of type into this document, you'll see it says it's still saving, but the saving of these changes won't be synced with my Google Drive till I'm connected online again. So you can see I can look at the PDF and I can continue editing a Google Doc. And I can even create a new file as long as I can access Google Drive. And this is the kind of curious thing, because as I say, when I did it with a pupil Chromebook earlier on, it didn't quite work. And I think it may have been, well, it wasn't actually a pupil Chromebook, it was this Chromebook, but I was signed into my Chromebook that I use with a pupil account. It may be because that's not the kind of primary user on this particular device. It wouldn't let me, when I opened up Chrome, the web browser, while I was offline, it just did the whole can't connect thing. So actually here, when you see we've got this web browser view of Google Drive, even though I'm offline, if I go to new, I can still create a new Google Docs sheet or Google Slides, and I can edit them and all the rest of it while it's offline. I don't need to be online to do any of that, as long as I can get into the Google Drive homepage. So basically, if you have a class who are working on something and the internet basically dies on you, or it's being really erratic, you can just turn off the internet and try and do it this way. So if you turn off the internet, the whole device just knows it's offline, and you don't get that issue with it trying to load things and then not loading it and all the rest of it. The main thing, though, is if it's a Google Doc of some sort, you need to make sure that you've set it to be available offline. And if it's a PDF, you need to have actually manually downloaded. Likewise, if it's an image file. I think that was a fairly long-winded way to answer the question, but hopefully it gave you a wee bit more context about how they work offline and some of the things you can and can't do.